If our bodies could talk, what kind of stories would they tell? Well, it turns out a simple X-ray can give them a voice. It can reveal this hidden world of clues about our health, our history, and yeah, sometimes our really strange decisions. So let's go on a little tour and see what's hiding in plain sight.
Right? I mean, what's the story here? We're going to break down what we can find inside the abdomen into three basic groups. First, there's the stuff the body makes on its own. Then, there are the things doctors put in there on purpose. And finally, well, there's the stuff that has absolutely no business being there at all.
Okay, first up, things the body actually manufactures itself, like calcifications and stones. These are some of the most common and honestly fascinating things you'll see on an abdominal X-ray. But before we can really get what we're looking at, we need to nail down one really important idea.
And that idea is being radio-opaque. It sounds technical, but it's super simple. Basically, if something is dense enough to block X-rays, think bone or anything with a lot of calcium, it shows up as bright white on the film. If it's not dense, it's pretty much invisible. And this one idea is absolutely crucial for what we're about to see.
Because, get this, kidney stones and gallstones are totally different in the eyes of an X-ray. Most kidney stones, they're packed with calcium, so they light up like a Christmas tree. But gallstones, they're mostly made of cholesterol, which X-rays just pass right through. You could say they're a little camera shy. Only a handful of them have enough calcium to actually show up on a scan.
And here is a perfect example. See that little bright white dot right there, kind of hanging out near the spine? That is a classic kidney stone. It's totally radio-opaque, which is why it stands out so clearly against all the gray, soft tissue around it. But they aren't always just little dots. Sometimes they can get huge. What you're looking at here is called a staghorn calculus. It gets that name because it has literally grown to fill the entire plumbing system of the kidney, creating this wild, branching shape that looks just like a piece of coral from the ocean. Incredible.
Now, the body can lay down calcium in other places too. If you look right in the middle of this image, you can see all these little white flecks scattered about. This isn't one single stone. It's widespread calcification all over the pancreas. And it's a dead giveaway for a condition called chronic pancreatitis.
But here's where it gets tricky, a little plot twist for you. See these small, round, white things down in the pelvis? They look pretty alarming, right? You might think they're kidney stones on the move, but nope. These are called phleboliths. They're just tiny, totally harmless calcifications in the walls of veins, and they're actually super common as we get older. A classic case of mistaken identity.
Okay, let's switch gears. We've seen what the body can create all by itself. Now for our next category, the intended guests. These are all the medical devices that are placed inside us on purpose to help everything run smoothly. And this is a perfect way to start. On the left, you've got a hip prosthesis, just as an object. And then on the right, you can see that exact same device sitting perfectly where it's supposed to be, right inside the patient's hip joint. Since it's made of metal, it's about as radio-opaque as it gets. It's the exact same principle with spinal hardware. These rods and screws, they act like an internal scaffold, giving support and stability to the vertebrae. On an X-ray, it just looks like this incredible piece of engineering, holding the spine right in line. Now, not all devices are big metal constructs. This thing here is a ureteral stent. It's often called a JJ stent because of those little pigtail curls on either end. It's just a thin, flexible tube that's placed inside the ureter. That's the tube connecting the kidney to the bladder, just to prop it open and make sure urine can flow. And finally, here's another really common device, the IUD, or intrauterine device. You can clearly see that distinctive T-shape right there in the pelvis. And these are specifically designed to be visible on an X-ray, so a doctor can easily check to make sure it's sitting in exactly the right spot. All right, so we've seen stones made from within, and we've seen devices put there to help. This brings us to our third and by far most unpredictable category, the uninvited guests. We're talking about foreign objects that were never, ever meant to be there. Let's start with a true classic, swallowed coins. This happens constantly, especially with curious little kids. Since they're metal, they show up nice and bright on an X-ray, which lets doctors track their progress as they make their way through the system. But this is where things get really serious. At first glance, that looks like another coin, right? Wrong. It's a button battery, and this is a genuine medical emergency. The key is in the side view. You see that little double ring or halo effect? That's the telltale sign. It tells a doctor this is not a harmless coin. It's a battery that can leak and cause catastrophic damage. It has to come out now.
And sometimes the uninvited guests are a little more ambitious. Hey, remember that picture from the very beginning? Yep, that is a real X-ray of someone who managed to swallow an entire spoon.
And you know, swallowing isn't the only way things end up where they shouldn't. Objects can get into the body through other routes too. These X-rays often tell some pretty extraordinary stories, and they lead to some of the most unforgettable images in all of medicine.
So, after our little tour of stones, devices, and all those uninvited guests, what have we really learned? Because it's more than just a gallery of strange images.
It's really a powerful reminder that even after more than a century, this technology is still one of our most direct windows into the human body. Every single image is a snapshot, a single frame that tells a story of biology, a story of medicine, or maybe just a story of a moment of really bad judgment.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thought, doesn't it? An X-ray just captures one silent moment in time. When you think about everything we've seen today, it really makes you wonder, what story would yours tell?